Welcome, everybody, to the Competition Archery Media Podcast, where we explore all things pertaining to competition archery. The CAM Podcast is brought to you by B3 Archery. I'm your host, PJ Riley, sitting alongside Josh Grine, and with us today, fresh off tying his own record for a 72-arrow, 50-meter round, Mike Schloesser. Mike, thanks for being here today.
Hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning.
Yes, it's you just said it's, well, we're at 11 o'clock a.m. here. You're at 5 p.m. there back home in the Netherlands. So 7/18. What conditions, what were they like, and were they what you like? Were you expecting to shoot that well?
So the conditions was a little bit challenging. It was definitely not brutal or anything. But to be honest, like shooting the score I did in the conditions we had was definitely not something in my mind that was ever possible. So I just started shooting, and it started good, it felt good, and just one end after another end, and eventually I was like, oh, a 360 is possible, and then I shoot a 9. I'm like, dang it. I was like, okay, well, whatever. Let's just keep on shooting. And I shot another 60, another 60, another 60. And I'm like, oh, damn, the world record is in sight, And then, bam, another 9. I'm like, that's very stupid. But yeah, it happened. But I was really happy how I shot that day. And I was like, of course, like shooting those kind of scores and the conditions we had was amazing.
It was windy, was what you had, right?
Yeah, it was like nothing crazy, but it was kind of challenging because the wind would sometimes come from left, like kind of it came from behind, but like sometimes left, sometimes right. So you really need to adjust your like aiming pattern a little bit, and you just keep like kind of your mind to it, active. And that's something I did, and I think that's the reason why I kind of slipped by the high score I could get reach, And then the realization hit sometimes hard, and that really messed me up.
So for folks who may not know, so that's a 7/18 out of 720. So you shot 70 10s and 2 9s.
Correct. Yep.
And this was at the Gator Cup, one of the USATs just a week or so ago. And 7/18, that's a world record that you hold already.
No, I don't. It's Braden Gallantine's.
Oh, Braden,
but I shot it before. I tied it already third time now. And so that's kind of brutal, but eventually will be a better chance at it.
So in the record books, is it listed because he did it first?
Yes, correct. He did it in, I would say about 8 years ago now, maybe 9 even. Also at a USAT event. I think I was at the USA Nationals at the time.
Yeah.
And since then I tied it 3 times, and because it's not a perfect score yet, the X's don't count. So it's just the score. That's it.
Yeah. How about that? You don't get any credit in the record book, even though you did it 3 times. Man.
No.
So, yeah. So you were saying you had 2 instances where you thought, oh, I could do this, and you shot a 9.
Yes.
Mentally, what's that round like for you? Is it challenging, or are you just getting a groove and just shooting?
I think the reason why I got in that groove was because it was kind of challenging. It was not it was very doable. Like the round was definitely not crazy or anything, but because you're like kind of focused more on, okay, what's the wind doing this arrow? Like, where do I need to aim? Do I need to bubble, aim off a little bit? Kind of that's how you go through your shot process, and then you kind of forget like what you're doing. You just go arrow at a time, just focus on where do you think I need to aim it, shoot it there, make a good shot, and see from there. And that kind of got me in a groove until that realization hit that I was shooting really good. And then kind of, I don't know. I want to say it's early in the season, so I didn't really think about it yet, but it came up.
What do you think it's going to take for someone to shoot a 19 or a perfect 20?
First of all, the conditions need to be good. And I think we have 3 things. Like yourself need to be good mentally. Your bow needs to be on point, like your equipment in general, and the conditions. So like if one of those 3 is a little bit off, you're not going to reach it. It's a really high score.
Yeah, that's because it seems like, 70 arrows, you could just do 72. It's just 2 more arrows. But over the course of 72 arrows, that also there's a lot of chances for something to go wrong once.
Yeah, correct.
So You're gearing up for the World Cup in Shanghai, which is about a week from now. Where do you sit in the points? There's been one World Cup so far this year.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I shot well at the one in Florida. That was the first World Cup. It was about almost a month ago now.
Yeah.
I felt like I shot really good. I just had the wrong opponent at the wrong time that shot really good against me. So I shot a 149 in tricky conditions. He shot a 149, and at the time of that round, it was the highest score of the field. So you cannot say that I shot bad. Just my opponent was on a roll and he shot better than I did. So he shot a good shit off and I didn't, and he advances and I did not.
What's your favorite archery game to play?
Ooh, I really enjoy indoors. Like indoor game is just something that I really can get in my groove. If I know I'm shooting well at an indoor game, it's just like one 10 after another. Just like don't need to think about anything. Just go to the line, grab my bow and shoot, and just they will be in there. And that's I think the reason why I really enjoy indoors, because you can get in that groove at outdoors, for example, or field or 3D even. And because you're relying on different environments, or like kind of like the weather or whatever, it kind of like cannot always translate in a good score. While if you're an 80 meter, like all the conditions are always the same. So like if you're on a groove, that really shows on the target.
Josh, he may be the only archer I have ever heard say indoor is their favorite game. I don't know I've ever heard anybody say that.
Well, I think Jacob Marlowe said it once or twice.
Yeah, right. I don't think so. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, so Mike, we talked to Tanya Galantine a month ago or so about coming up in archery in Denmark. What's the archery scene like in the Netherlands? I have no idea.
So the region where I live, archery is just done as a fun sport. It's kind of like a bar game. It's like what you play pool or darts. The majority of the clubs are kind of a bar. We have a lot of people that drop off their kids, for example, and then just have like a drink or anything. Like have a good time together, or like the families have a good time together. If you go more in the north of the country, it's a bit more serious. So in the north of the Netherlands, the archery game is taken very serious. And you also can see that like the majority of competitions we have in the south of the Netherlands, where I'm at, they're just fun. We even have like a discipline. It's called 25 meters, 1 arrow. And you shoot 1 arrow at a time, and then most of the people drink 1 beer at a time as well. So one arrow, 1 beer.
I'm going to the Netherlands, PJ. I think I can compete at that game, Mike.
That sounds like it'd be pretty short.
Yeah. And from there on, we have like kind of like regional championships, and we have like a lot of scouts that select you to go into like a regional team. From there on, you go to the youth team. So if you do good at the regional team, you go to the youth team. Or from the youth team, you kind of enroll into the senior team.
How did you get into it?
And my parents, both of them did the fun part of the archery. So my dad still shoots to this day. My mom needed to quit because she had an injury in her shoulder a couple of years ago. But like we still like me and my dad still shoot every couple of days. We try to meet up and shoot some arrows.
Yeah, shoot some arrows and drink some beers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So at what age did you start it? So it sounds like they started you in it for fun. What age was that? And then when did you start to get serious about it?
I think like I first time shooting a bow body, I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Serious, I would say about the age of 10. I first shot recurve for a couple of years. Compound in the region where I'm at was a big no-no. It was not accepted. I don't even know how I even saw it. Like at a random tournament once, I saw a compound. I was like, hey, that's something I want to do. And it was very challenging in the beginning because at the time that I was 9, 10, I wanted to shoot compound. First of all, at the time, get a small compound was really difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it's a bit more available, but back then it was really, really tough, especially in the Netherlands. And from there on, like if I want to shoot a competition, I need to ask the local club or whatever, need to ask permission if I could shoot my bow. It was a compound, So it was really tough in the beginning. And I would say about like 10, 11, I was shooting a FITA back then. So at the time, my age class was a 50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meter FITA.
Yeah.
And the coach from the youth program back then was like, I went to the coach of my region, and he was like, you need to take him onto your team. And from that moment on, I just went to once a week, went to the training. From there on, I just grew up, went to the national team, youth team at the time. I was about, let's say, 12, 13.
Yeah.
And from there on, I started shooting world championships and at the time, youth cups.
And at that level, is there like funding from the government, or are you guys paying for it all? How are you doing that?
So my parents did the most of the funding. So throughout bringing me to all the competitions and all the trainings they did, they helped me out there. And for like world championships at the time, the youth competitions, they got funded by our Olympic committee. But the majority of the competitions I did back then, they were all funded by my parents.
Wow.
Go mom and dad.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Mom and dad. Yeah, you better buy your dad lots of beers now then. So would you say the path to get to where you are, I mean, there's only one Mike Schloesser, but the path to get to your level in the Netherlands, it doesn't sound like it's real easy.
No, it's definitely not. And especially now, maybe now with the comp becoming Olympic, there's a bit more funding in there. But for the last 6-7 years, we didn't have any funding for the compound team from our Olympic committee. So our federation would pay, if you're lucky, 1 or 2 tournaments a year. So all the World Cups are self-funded, all the Grand Prix are self-funded. So the majority of stuff that the compounders do is all self-funded. So it's very hard to get in the game as a compounder.
Is that, and I missed what you said, will that change now with compound in the Olympics, or you don't know yet?
So I've had talks with our federation, and it doesn't seem promising yet. The upcoming year, and maybe also 26. So it's going to be very difficult. But I hope eventually, closer to the games, that there will be some funding for us.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here, Mike, because I've been hearing all kinds of stories all over the internet, as I'm sure you can imagine, about what Mike Schloesser is going to do for the Olympics. I've heard you're going to go to other countries and compete there, all that stuff. What's the plan now?
Actually, for me, it's not going to change much. Of course, it would be amazing to compete at the Olympics, but as of now, I just want to shoot my bow and go to competitions and enjoy it. Like I always, like for the last 15 years that I've been a pro, since with what 15 years, I just enjoy it still. Like I just shot my bow, practice a couple hours today, and I still do really enjoy it. And for me, that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter if it's at the Olympics eventually or not, or if I'm going to make it or not. So for me, I just enjoy shooting my bow, and we will see how it brings me. Of course,
I want to stop you there. You enjoy it because you don't miss. Try it for someone like me who misses. It's not as enjoyable.
Maybe if you really enjoy it and then the points come by itself, maybe you need to twist it around.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. But,
no worries.
Yeah, so because the issue is, generally, it's not thought that there is, it's mixed team only. That's all we have in the Olympics, and that there's not a woman who's quite at your level in the Netherlands.
We have a woman in the Netherlands. Actually, I think she could definitely be good. She is probably like top 8, top 16 of the world. Just the only thing is funding. Like she just get like a World Cup at the moment is about 2,500 a World Cup. So there are like 4 of them plus a World Championship / European Championships, depending on the year it is.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to cost you about 10,000 to 15,000 euros to compete at a season. And for the most people, it's just not possible. Even though, so you really need to be depending of the funding we get. And if there's no funding for this year or next year, that's going to be very tough as a Dutch mixed team to get there.
Yeah, right.
I think most countries are in that, how do you even measure the skill level in the countries if the funding's not there? It's people are competing. You come out of the woodwork if the funding was there. So
you know archers and how they shoot, so you feel like you have someone who could give you a good team. Yeah,
for sure. Like I think if the funding would be there, we definitely have a chance to be there at the LA Olympics. I definitely believe in that. If that's not possible, if we don't get the funding, then I might be able, like what you said, like need to look in different countries. But that choice needs to be pretty quickly, because if you want to compete at the Olympics, I know this because of Gabi, of course, my wife, she came to the Netherlands. You need to have a residency, like a passport that you can compete for that country. So I can, like, if I would say, I've been hearing it a lot as well, like go to the UK or go to Italy or whatever. Like I've been hearing them all as well. If I would, for example, go to the UK, and I need to probably live. First of all, I need to live there a year before I can officially compete for World Archery. So I need to take a year off of a world ranking event.
Ooh.
So that's already like something I'm not looking forward to. But if it's necessary, it's necessary.
Yeah, right.
I know some other events you could shoot when you're not doing world ranking events.
I do. I've shot some of them.
I
know. So the World Cups then, for someone like yourself who goes there and competes, and have you won what's the one at the end, the World Cup final? You've won that?
I won it 4 times, already.
So you still... What's that like to compete on that stage? You, Mike, even compete in some of the World Cup events where, like, you're the only person I know who's competing there. They're kind of, I don't want to say lesser known, but I guess they are lesser known. You like that atmosphere. What's that like competing on that stage, the World Cup stage?
I really enjoy it. Like, especially like the World Cup final is kind of our Super Bowl, I would say. You need to qualify for it. So it's the top 7 of the World Cup circuit go. So if you either win a tournament or be in the top, how many? Like 7.
Yeah.
And then you have one of the host countries. So it's a very unique experience to compete in that, because they're the 8 best people of the world are there.
Right.
So it's it's a very nice atmosphere. And normally there's also like a big show. So we went to La Scala, Mexico last year, and they had like the whole town came out. The whole town was kind of dressed up for hosting the event. And it's just really cool to get there and really be appreciated as an archer, because sometimes you go to like a world championships in somewhere in Europe, and they're like, oh, what a burden to have them here, you know? When you sometimes go to these events, and especially in Latin countries, that's really, or Asian countries as well, they really know how to make an archery event.
Now, we should say here, Mike, because you're one of the few who could say this, especially coming from the Netherlands, the Dutch, the World Cup final is like your World Cup final. Because you don't go to the Super Bowl. We got to go soccer for you.
I was like, maybe more people understand the Super Bowl compared to the World Cup final, but it is like that. Like, there's just a certain amount of people qualify for it, and it's an amazing tournament.
Yeah.
It's already like classifying for it, like qualifying for it. It's already an amazing feat, and it makes it even more amazing to be able to shoot there.
Do the people like around you, like in your town where you live, do they know Mike Schloesser, like world number 1 rank? They do.
Mm-hmm. They do, yeah.
That's what I like to hear.
And
I have a feeling like Levi Morgan could walk into a restaurant, people like wouldn't know who he is.
Oh, well, last year in Metropolis, we walked into Fat Ed's, and Levi was on the TV screen because they had the Sportsman's Channel or Outdoor Channel on, and people had no idea the guy was even in town. I'm like, I have a question pertaining to like the funding, the World Cup events, the qualifying in the U.S. It would be the USATs. You know, what you and Gabby, I assume, only do archery, right? Like that's your profession. What's the incentive? You know, I've looked at this because it doesn't seem like the paybacks are there. To where if you're spending 10 or 15,000 euros to go to those handful of events, what are you earning back? So to an up and coming archer that looks like I want to make a career out of this,
it's very hard.
Right.
I think like, especially in Europe, like some Asian countries take it a bit more serious as a compound. And of course the US takes it very serious, because you have like either the NFA that has a good payout, the ASAs of course, and then even the USAT events, they really get paid well. So it for an up and coming archer in Europe is very hard, because only like kind of like a handful of people that can do this as a full-time job, coming from the compound side. Like if you're recurve, it's different, because it was Olympic and a lot of funding. So a lot of people get like a monthly salary, get their tournaments funded. So it's completely different. But if you're on the compound side, you really need to explore the things in the US. And I think that's also like kind of what you see now, like a lot of more Europeans trying to come over to the US to shoot some events there. And it doesn't really matter if it's a USAT or an FAE or even an ASA. Like they just come over and try to make some money or make a living out of it.
So the only way really to do it in the European countries right now is through sponsorship.
Correct. Yep.
Because you're not going to make a living after you pay for your costs shooting the World Cup events.
Yeah, and some countries I know, for example, Italy gets some funding for the compound because they have a really big federation. France also gets some of the tournaments funded. But for example, I know Denmark, for example, they don't get anything. You don't even get the World Championships. Luckily, we get like 1 or 2 events a year, but they don't even get the World Championships funded. So there's even worse there than for us.
How is it for you over there? Now, obviously, you're in a different category, but if you're up and coming, what's the availability of equipment, good equipment?
Oh, it's super easy. Like we have multiple stores, multiple, even like kind of like local dealers that take care of it. So we've like the Netherlands only has 10,000 archers. But I know we already have 4 or 5 stores that you can just go in and walk out with a bow. And depending on the price class, doesn't matter. Like you will walk away with either a brand new Hoyt Matthews, or even if you want to go a bit cheaper, like to the Sanlidas. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Hey, incidentally, I just thought of this. So you're currently World Archery's #1 ranked compound men's archer. How long have you held that #1 position?
I think I'm running close to about 1,400 days on a row.
Man. Quick math, BJ. It's like 3.5 years.
300 and some. Yeah, that's like 4
years.
Over 4 years, pushing 5 years. Holy cow. That's crazy. Did you ever, when you're little Mike Schloesser starting out, did you ever think of that? Or was that the goal?
Actually, the goal is just to become a better archer every day. So that's from small Mikey to now. It's just like I was on the practice range almost every single day, and just at the end of the training, I wanted to be a better person I was in the beginning of the training. So that's kind of how I set my goals. Like I never was like, hey, I want to become world champion, or I want to be. I've reached a certain amount of World Cup wins or whatever. Like I'm here, just enjoy the show and try to be a better archer every single day.
Now you're one of the more recognizable people, not just because you're Mike Schloesser, but because of that bow that you shoot. Have you ever weighed that thing to see what the whole thing together weighs?
No, I have not. I know a lot of people always ask me, and I don't. It works for me, and I always tell people as well, like, you shouldn't try it. Like, it probably doesn't work for you. Just you need to find something that fits you and your shooting style, and then you shouldn't copy me, because.
What does all that weight do for you? Just steadies the bow?
Yeah, like especially because the majority of shoots that I do is the 50 meter, like the USAT events or the World Cups, and they're always kind of like a little bit breezy and windy, and then a lot of weight on my bow just slows down the movement in the wind, so it's a bit more controlled.
Do you know how much? Now you have like just a weight, I believe, on the riser itself, aside from stable. Do you know what that weighs?
That's 8. So I have 8 ounces in my riser. I have about 24 on my side stabilizer and 30 to 34, depends a bit, on my front bar. All
in 1 ounce stacks, or you know the combined 8 ounce stacks. Do you know how many rods that is? You probably got 10 ounces in rods.
Yeah. It's funny, like I tried also tungsten. Like I was like, I'm going to shorten up the stack. Like everybody's like, you need to try tungsten. I need to try tungsten. But because I have such a long stack with normal weights, like it felt so off. I couldn't get a balance back. And even though I had the same amount of weight in tungsten, but because it was shorter to the bow, it just felt really weird, really awkward.
No kidding.
So
how about that?
24 on the back, 32 up front, 8 ounces on the bow. That's 8 pounds in weights.
That's crazy.
Is that right? No.
Well,
4 pounds in weights. A lot of weight.
Yeah.
64 ounces.
But, you know, to your credit, and one of the things that always amazes me is watching you shoot, you lift that and draw it like it's nothing. And I'm sure that's just from repetition.
Yeah, it is. I've been shooting my bow almost every single day for like the last maybe 15, 16 years.
Okay.
So it's just like, even now, like I almost never take a day off. I really enjoy shooting, and I feel like at the moment that I take a day off, like the day after that, I just don't feel confident or comfortable even. Like I try to shoot, even if it's my time schedule doesn't really allow me to shoot this a day. I always try to shoot, maybe it's 50 hours. Even if it's only 50 hours, I try to get those in.
50 arrows. How many arrows do you shoot a day?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
In the out of season, about 250 to 300, anything between 200 and 300 arrows. Indoors, I go way down, about 100 to 120 arrows a day.
Have you ever had any physical injuries from that? Shoulder, elbow?
So I had a tennis elbow once a couple years ago, and I have once a shoulder injury that took me quite a while to get over.
Okay. No surgery to repair, just rest?
No, just, more physical exercises, because it was kind of like, overstrained shoulder. The physio told me, like, we have two options. Either, and you're not gonna like it, and he's like, you need to quit archery for at least 6 weeks, and I'm like, that's not gonna happen. And so the guy came out with another program, and he's like, you're not gonna like this one either. I'm like, doesn't matter, as long as I can shoot my bow, it's fine. And we had kind of like a rehab program, and even including shooting. I went down in shooting though, like I would shoot about half the hours what I would normally do.
Yeah.
And then the exercises every single day, and that helped me out. And it took me about 3-4 months to get over it, but I still could shoot my bow. I also at a higher level.
You told him straight up, that I'm not taking 6 weeks off.
No. Yeah.
That's why he's Mr. Perfect. Speaking of which, when did that name come out, Mr. Perfect? When did that start going on? And who gave it to you?
I'm pretty sure it was George Stakmichov that gave me that name. He was announcer at the event I shot a 600 at. So it was a World Archery World Cup in Nîmes. During the qualification, I shot a 600 out of 600. And that's kind of how the nickname showed up. He's like Mr. Perfect, and that kind of sticked around since, so what is it now, 12 years almost?
I don't know if people can see it, but that's actually what it says there on your jersey. It doesn't say Mike Schloesser, it says Mr. Perfect. And my favorite part about that is that you can wear that and then back it up.
I remember, like, in the beginning, like when I just got this nickname, people would come to me and be like, hey, Mr. Perfect, can you sign this? And I would be like, all freaked out, because it's a big name to live up to.
That's right.
So like I would show up the next competition, I would be like, okay, I need to shoot a 600, otherwise, and then it was really difficult to live up to the name. So that took me definitely, I would say, like a couple of years to get used to, and now so it's just part of my identity now.
So, Mike, people at home can see your easy demeanor and like that, and the thing that always sticks in my head about you that I will never forget is at the Lancaster Archery Classic, I think it might have been 2 years ago. You were clean till the last end. And I don't remember if it was the last arrow, but I know it was the last end when you finally missed an 11. And I was devastated. And I went up to you, I was like, Mike, how do you feel about that? And you go, oh, it happens. I thought, holy cow.
Yeah, like, so you try to like shoot 11s only, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it doesn't, like, of course, like I put more pressure on the last one than the first one, but like, it is like, I just, at the time I was like, just didn't shoot my best shot. It's on 11, and it's like, oh, it's not the end of the world. So there will be more qualification rounds where I can clean it out, and there will be more matches I can clean it out. So
I believe you won that year, if I remember correctly. So
I would say so, yeah.
That was one of you've won the Classic how many times now?
I think 2 times, and I got second twice.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, probably it feels better to win the tournament than to shoot the perfect qualification score.
That's definitely a thing. Yeah, that happened to me before. Like I shoot a 600 and would shoot like a 150 in matches, and I would lose the first round against somebody that shot a 150 against me as well. So sometimes it's bad. It's like that sometimes. But that's archery. Like the underdog story is definitely a possibility in archery because you can shoot the best you ever done, and if you come to the wrong opponent at the wrong time, it just you're out.
Yeah, at your level, there's any number of people who in a match could shoot a 150, boom, right at this time. And if that happens to be one where you shoot a 149, well,
then you're out. Yeah,
then you're out.
You can home.
Yeah.
So in all that competition and those handful of people that can do what you do, who's your favorite person to shoot a match against?
Oh yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one. At this moment, it'd probably be Jimmy. Me and him had the last 2 years a lot of matches against each other, and it's definitely a close 50-50. Some he wins, some I win, and we have done it on really big stages against each other, and it's always a good match. It's always either on a shoot-off or in like a 150, 149-ish. So we always show up, and that's I think is really cool because we kind of push each other to be better, and that's it's really cool to have that on the big stage.
Jimmy's a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
When you're shooting those matches, so you like shooting against Jimmy, but there's a handful. Matthias is out there. You've shot matches against Bodie. When you're in those head-to-head matches, does your shooting change based on who you're shooting against? Is there strategy?
No. So there's only one thing that I always try to teach people as well. It's like the only thing you can control is yourself. So if you want to win, you're the only one that can do that, make that happen. So like you need to show up the best you can and hope that's going to be enough. And if not, then you need to work on yourself.
I've talked to archers and they're like, oh, if I'm shooting against this guy, I'll speed up my shot process to put pressure on him, or I'll slow down. And I didn't know how much that really affects a guy like you.
I don't think that it matters at all at our level anymore. Like the only thing that you can control is yourself, your own emotions, your own mental strategy. And I think that's the only thing you should focus on, because I know I've heard that one as well. Like, oh, if I'm shooting against you, you shoot quick, so I'm going to try to keep up with your pace. I'm like, you shouldn't do that. You should shoot your own pace, because that's something you've been practicing for the last couple months, years maybe, and just do your own thing. And I know, for example, as well, like I talked to Matt Stutzman, of course, a Paralympian archer, and they have 30 seconds an arrow. And with his feet and loading up an arrow takes quite some time. So I know some people try to do tricks on him, just like, oh, I'm going to shoot really fast so he gets less time to shoot his arrows. And I know for a fact that he practices that as well, so that he knew that when he was in that situation that somebody is going to speed up their process, that he would still be able to make good shots.
So you mentioned the underdog. When you look out at you've been doing this, I think you said like 15 years. So you're one of the old hats in the ring.
Yes, I am, unfortunately.
When you look at the up and coming archers, who or what are you excited about?
Of course, like a Bodie and a Matthias, those are definitely going to be the next generation that are going to elevate archery. I just hope that I can stick with them. So, like you said, I've been on the older side now, and I just hope that I can keep on doing what I can do as long as possible.
How old are you? I don't know.
31.
31. Okay. Well, yeah, and I guess we should talk. Your wife Gabby, she shoots Olympic recurve as well. You're expecting your first kid. How do you see that affecting archery going forward?
It's definitely going to be challenging. We have no game plan yet, because we don't like to plan something that we don't know is how it's going to roll. As of now, I'm just going to keep on shooting. I'm going to slow down a little bit this season, because, for example, normally I would have shot another ASA, or even like Reading. I would have went from Reading straight to Shanghai. Yeah. And now I just try to focus a bit more on the tournaments that I know that are more important for me and my sponsors, and also try to stay at home a bit more. And she needs help. Of course, she's now 36 weeks pregnant.
Right.
And she cannot do all the things that she used to do. So now I just need to help her a little bit as well, and be home a bit more than I used to be. But I like to just do it, see it one by one. my goal is just to keep on shooting and keep on doing what we do, and hopefully just bring the baby if she's going to be easy, and then just both of us keep on shooting.
So you mentioned Reading and Shanghai, and Josh and I were talking. We remembered that this happened, that we remember folks who shot Reading would always be talking about, I got to go straight from here to China, which, crazy travel schedule. You go all over the world. What's your favorite country to shoot in? Where do you like going?
I think one of my favorite countries to be in as an archer is like Colombia or Mexico. The people that they don't know anything about archery, but they see, sports. Oh, that's amazing. Let's go. And they just come and cheer, and they don't even know what sport they're sharing at, but they just live up. If there's an event at their town, they show up and be there for you. And that's just really cool. Because, for example, like if we hosted the World Championships in the Netherlands in, I think, 2017, we had like this amazing location, amazing shoot, and people were just walking by and be like, "Hey, what's happening here? Oh, World Championship archery. Yeah. You know what? I'll go again because that looks boring." So it's really different atmosphere in some of the countries, but in Latin countries, like they see sports and it doesn't matter what it is, and they just come out, and it's amazing.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because I always remember I went to the World Cup when it was in Salt Lake City. And I was telling people, I was like, I don't even think the people of Salt Lake knew this was happening. And it's right there, the Easton facility in downtown. I was like, nobody really knew what was happening.
It's crazy because it's like Salt Lake City is a big archery. Like, Hoyt is there, Easton is there. Like, they're two big names in archery, and they didn't even know that a World Cup was there, kind of. So it's really weird how it sometimes is.
So Latin America for turn up for the events. What's your favorite country for food?
Oh, yeah.
Food. Ooh. I would say Taiwan.
Taiwan. Okay. That's one of the ones where I've seen you shoot, and I'm looking at the scores, and you're the only name I recognize.
Yeah, I really enjoy that tournament. I like competing. Like me and Guy really like competing, so we would go from competition to competition, and every competition we could sign up for, we would do. That makes sense, of course. And we once went there, and we were the only foreigners there. Me and Gabi were literally the only non-Taiwanese people there.
Really?
And the organization kind of made like a post with, "Hey, Mike is coming. Mike and Gabi are coming." And their entries went up by like 50% extra, and like people from India came, some other Asian country came, and so they really were thankful for me showing up there.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, they've been like super kind to me. They're helping me help me with the flight sometimes, or your hotel, or even boat sometimes, and they really appreciate for me coming there from the beginning, and they've been helping me out ever since. So that's really cool as well from their part.
That's interesting, because that you seek out these extra tournaments that are in foreign countries, because I've heard other archers talking about, what a hassle they view it as to travel to all these countries. And here you are finding ones that are even outside the norm.
Yeah, and I enjoy it. Like I generally do. Like I really enjoy archery. It brought me a lot in my life. Like I even found my wife in archery. And it brought me a lot, and I just like doing it. So I'd like to sometimes give back a little bit like that as well, and just show up to some lesser known tournament just to be out there and give people something to look at or have fun with.
That's cool. Yeah,
be an ambassador for the sport. That's one of the questions I wanted to ask is, when you're not watching or participating in archery, what's your other favorite sport to watch?
To watch, I'm a really big baseball guy. I really enjoy watching baseball. I like Formula One. I every weekend I either watch it live or watch it like rewind it kind of and then watch it again. So those two sports is something that I follow a lot as well, and I think that's also the only two sports I really look at.
Is there a Formula One chat between you, Jimmy, and Stefan when there's a race weekend?
Yeah, we talk about it a lot because they both like it a lot as well. Steve Anderson is one of them as well. So like when we're together, we always said somehow it always ends up in Formula One, indeed. So it's really funny.
So to piggyback off that question, you watch baseball, you watch Formula One. We've talked about some of the funding in archery, talked about you being an ambassador of archery. What is something that you think archers could take away from the sports that you watch, Formula One and baseball, to help grow not only the sport, but themselves as a brand?
I think like professionalism. You will see just how the people, I don't know, behave and behave with, like, interact with some of the people that like come and support their events. You know, like you would see like a Formula One person that's about to race would sign some autographs and stuff like that. And I think that's something we don't really see in archery. You know, like we kind of like this exclusive group, even though that we're pretty reachable, because what other sporting event can you shoot with the number one in the world at an event? Like you would sign up to an ASA, or you can sign up to Vegas even and be competing besides me or with me even. And I think that's something, because that's not going to happen with a baseball or with a Formula One team. You know, like you're not just going to jump in the Formula One car and be able to race against Max Verstappen, for example, or whatever. But like we're still this exclusive group at these events that people don't dare to come to sometimes.
Yeah.
So with that understanding, how do you view that? Like, okay, I'm here. This person might be shooting an amateur class. You know, what do you think your responsibility as a professional representing sponsors, brands in the sport to interact with them and to get them more excited about archery? Is that something that you think about? And
yes, that's definitely something I think about. And also think that's something I think about going to an Asian country to shoot my bow, for example, because I know they really appreciate that. And I'm really definitely able to be an ambassador in those kind of countries sometimes.
Yeah, I will say, Mr. Perfect you have on there. From my perception of what I see, it could also be Mr. Clean. I don't know that I've ever seen Mike involved in anything. You know, you don't hear about him being a guy who gets into an argument with somebody or something like that. You just don't. I never hear anything but good things about Mike Schloesser.
He already said it. It's the professionalism.
That's right. Professionalism.
Yeah, you try to be like an example for young athletes. Like sometimes you lose a match and you can be like, oh, like cussing or throwing your equipment or anything. And I think that's very unprofessional of some people. And I think that's not putting an example out there. And I try to. It's sometimes hard, you know, like sometimes if you have a tough loss or anything, like it's sometimes difficult. And then within 2 minutes, like a kid comes to you, like, can I have your signature? You know, like it's sometimes pretty difficult, but like you try to like put that aside and just be like, try to like get this kid into archery or get this kid more involved in archery. And I think that's really important that we as athletes really need to step up in that.
Yeah, they're not thinking about what just happened. They're thinking, there's Mike Schlosser, number one in the world. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing.
And that can be sometimes pretty difficult, but like we still try to don't have it.
So, Mike, the 720, is it out there? Someone going to do it?
Oh, yeah. I can see it, like just like I said, the three. Like the weather needs to be good, you need to be on point, and your equipment need to be on point that day. And it's like there are people that definitely be able to reach that. I can see like Matthias do that. If a body takes 50 meters serious, he definitely can do that. Jimmy, when he gets in a roll, can definitely do that. And there's like a dozen people that probably can do it if the three parts are really, really there. And I think the most important part is just the weather needs to cooperate.
Does it surprise you that in 8 years, 7 or whenever Braden shot it the first time, that 18 is the highest it's gotten?
I think it's pretty stellar score already. Like I think like a 718 is, I think a 718 is way more difficult than shooting a 680 meters. I generally do believe that.
Okay. Have you ever shot a perfect round in practice? 720 in practice?
No. My practice is normally not as good as my competitions because I wander with my thoughts about a lot of things about like tuning my bow, or I need to change this to make it better, and then I start shooting and then it kind of goes everywhere. And then
gotcha.
While like competitions, you really focus on like only one task, and that's putting arrows in the middle. So it's kind of a different. So my practices normally tend not to be as good as my competitions.
Shooting in the wind like that you experienced at Gator Cup, like were you aiming outside the 10 or were you always staying in the 10?
I think there was definitely some arrows that I aimed outside the 10 ring.
Okay.
So, for example, like my final match against Matthias, we ended up in a shoot off, 148, 148. And my shoot of arrow, like I see the wind change directions, and I'm like, okay. And I just picked a spot, and there was a mid nine left. I picked a spot there and just shot it there, and it landed in the X ring, so it drifted quite a bit. And
oh wow, is that just experience then to know how much to go off?
I think so, yeah. Like experience and just also like trying to figure out, like, for example, like it's not my first final. So like for me, instead of being in that moment, like, oh, this is my first final, like, oh, what I need to do, what I need to do. Yeah. I'm just there like, okay, like I've been here a couple times. I've done this before. I'm just watching the environment and watching myself and try to keep myself calm and just watching the things that happen. And I think that's experiencing of those big finals.
Yeah. Can you ever get enough of those big finals?
No, it's like drugs. It's like it's like adrenaline that you're only going to get at one certain amount of time, and as being competing at the highest level.
I can't imagine. Okay, so for you, everything you've won, what do you see, or what felt like this is the biggest one? This is the biggest thing I've ever won.
Of course, like world championships are always amazing. But for me, I think the most one that stuck out to me is probably my second Vegas win. We, like Gabi and me, were about to like get together. We were like planning to buy a house, and we found this house with this amazing piece of land where we could shoot 70 meters, even 100 meters if we wanted to. Yeah. And it was like, that's amazing. That's it. And the house itself needed some work, but like the garden, the location, everything was amazing.
Yeah.
But the big thing was it was out of our budget.
So
fast forward to that we saw the house, and I don't know, like the next 2 months we were like looking at houses, and we saw some in the garden, but then you would look straight into the sun, or like always, or I was in a neighborhood, so you don't really want to shoot there, because if something goes wrong, then yeah, you don't want to have that. So we saw houses, either the house we didn't like, or the location, or like there's always something.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, like finding in the Netherlands, finding something where you can shoot 70 meters is pretty tough. 50 meters, like just compound will be fine, but like for the 70 meters for the recurve was definitely a big ask. It's a lot of difference. And like 2-3 months passed by, and we always would be like, no, that first house we saw, that's the one. And then Lancaster happened. It was Lancaster in 2017 that I won. Yep. And then I won Vegas back-to-back that week in a month. And that kind of was a big life changer, because then with that amount of money, you were able to afford the house that we saw, and that kind of changed our life around, because we would be able to practice in our garden and just fling some arrows whenever we want.
And that's where you live now?
That's where we live now, yeah.
How about that? That's cool.
So maybe not a message about the competition itself, but just the back-to-back, being like winning two big events, that is like a life changer.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, good timing there. Was there one title that you won that you saw as like it took a while, it just was eluding you, and then finally I won this thing?
Reading is one of them. I came close a couple times, and I still haven't won that one yet. And that's definitely something that I would like to one time win. I think I got second 3 times now, so I came close. Last year I lost in a shootout against Jimmy there. So I've been really close, and I think that one is still the one that's eluding me a little bit. Yeah,
that's the one that's out there. Wow. Yeah.
Where can people find you, connect with you, and social media, that kind of stuff?
So I have my Instagram that I try to be pretty active on, especially like not necessarily on posting stuff, but like people can send me messages there that I try to answer. That's probably the best way to get in contact with me. I have Facebook a little bit as well. Just Mike Schloesser. You can find me there on both of those socials. I'm about to start like getting pretty serious in the YouTube channel. I kind of want to share not necessarily my knowledge, but my love for archery. I'm gonna want to share it there and just give them some insight in my archery life.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to start with that a bit.
That's
a good idea.
Let's talk about that for a minute. So it's something that I've been talking to archers for a few years about. It's like, hey, if you watch golf, fishing, baseball, any of those sports, there's a ton of athletes with YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily the person that's winning all the time, but they're putting the information out there. What value do you see in YouTube for archery as a whole? And then I'll follow up that question with like, how are you planning to go into it? Are you putting together like a content strategy and just help other archers out there understand what you're doing?
So for me, I think we can grow archery all together like that. I think it's pretty important. Like you said, like all those big sports have it. So us as archers need to kind of come out with doing that as well, because if you're not going to do that, you're not going to become a really big sport. So if you want to elevate archery in general, like you need to do like certain things like that. And I think that's important. And I think what my intention is just to share like a little bit of knowledge. So I'm going to go in how to set up a bow, how to fletch arrows, but also maybe just what people want to do, like I kind of like the main focus is just to share the love of archery and have people get interested in it or invested in it.
In the target world, it's kind of the only ones I can think of off the top of my head are Paige and Tim Gillingham. Can't really think of anybody who does that for target archery. There's lots of bow hunting content and that kind of thing, but for target, that's kind of the only ones are there any Europeans doing that? I might not know about that.
I don't know. And I'm not far yet. And I also like on schedule wise, like it's going to be very hard because my main focus is going to be like an archer that's competing. So I'm like, it's going to be hard to do both because I kind of played around with it a bit now, and it's a tough thing, like kind of like if you want to really become good at it, you kind of need to invest in some good equipment. You need to invest in some time, and you also need to like kind of find an editor to just edit it out, or like even like you need to put some effort in it to make it a good video.
Right.
Well, here's I'll throw out just from watching a lot. I think one of the things that you have an incredible opportunity because you do travel so much.
Yeah.
And so even that like vlog style, almost like a travel style site where this is the life of a pro archer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then just a piece of advice for people watching, like, well, I don't know how to edit. There's websites out there like Fiverr. You pay somebody a minimal amount and you can see their work, and there's ways to just get started. And I think archery as a whole, we've got to wrap our brain around that. Like, you've got a phone, you have options to edit. And I mean, I think it's one of the realizations when I look at the viewership, and it doesn't matter what tournament it is. I think one of the biggest viewed tournaments, the Lancaster Archery Classic on YouTube. And if you look at those numbers comparatively to mainstream sports, they're just not there.
No.
And so to get the outside sponsorship, we've got to start building the value of the archers themselves. And so, I'm applauding you for taking that step and just getting started, because we need to grow viewership. We need to grow individuals, and so that people know who Mr. Perfect is.
That's right.
And they might not like archery, but or it's not that they don't like archery, but they don't have that knowledge. But if you're traveling, here's my life in the airport, here's this restaurant, here's what it looks like. You're able to capture a wider audience than just, this is me at my bow press.
Archery.
So don't take those small moments for granted, man. Turn your camera on and film it.
I don't like. I really enjoy every single day. Archery brought me a lot, and that's also kind of the reason why I want to share some of that back. Archery brought me a lot. I made a lot of friends all over the world, and not a lot of people can say that, and I don't take that for granted at all. Like, I really appreciate that, and I also kind of want to give that back to the people that experience.
And it's super cool. When we were setting up this podcast, and I was like, I have Mike's cell phone number. Oh yeah, that's right. We hung out in Louisville, It was just like, I think that night it was like you and Brady Ellison. Yeah, it was like
Chris,
it's just
Stefan, Jimmy. We had a lot of fun.
And we did. And that is, I think, what's super cool with archery. It's like you make these friendships and you have those moments, and it is, to your point, archery gives a lot to the people that are involved in it. Yeah. And so we've got to grow that circle so people see how cool it is.
All right. So That's another episode of the Competition Archery Media Podcast. First of all, Mike Schloesser, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast.
And we wish you the best of luck in Shanghai and with your other tournaments and with the baby. When's the baby going to be born? When are we expecting?
So the due date is 27 May. So it's going to be right around, we're about 36 weeks now. I'm going to be back on week 38. So it's just going to be tight there. But we'll see. Like, I just hope it's going to be anytime soon after that, because then I'm going to have enough time for Turkey. But gotcha. It's challenging. Like, we'll see. Like, I don't know. I'm not planning anything anymore. I'm just going with the flow, and we'll see.
Going with the flow. All right. Well, we wish you and Gabby the best with that, Mike, and congratulations. Josh, thanks for your time. Folks, we appreciate you joining us. Competition Archery Media Podcast. You can find it on all the platforms, wherever you find your favorite podcasts.